TCEQ when they call. Strong odors, noxious odors, hydrogen sulfide odors, chemical odors, hydrocarbon odors, strong diesel odors, fuel oil odors, burning rubber and plastic odors. We took a tour today around some of the facilities in the 2 counties, and we smelled all those types of odors. And then additional foul odors, sulfur odors, strong acid odors. We had people complaining about the acid odor and how you can taste it as well as smell it. Heavy petroleum odors, strong toxic odors, propane-like odors. It stinks, rotten egg, gasoline odors, on and on and on. And again, these are the type of odors that we have been dealing with the community's complaints, and they're continuing to submit these to TCEQ. So when you look at the types of events that have been reported by the community, they pick up the phone, dial at TCEQ, and this is what they say. The odor events we just talked about. Black and white emissions during fracking. Visible exhaust and emissions, we saw that today. Black and white smoke, we saw that today. Excess lime dust, we didn't see that today. Dust from fracking, we saw yellow mist. Liquid spewing and causing fog. Foam spray, black smoke and large fireballs from flares. Loud popping noises. Steam fumes coming up out of the ground and the well pad through cracks in the soil. Smoke from drilling sites. Yellow powder from gas drilling sites. Drilling rig burning off unknown substances, shooting balls of fire into the air. Condensate tanks overflowing and pouring onto the ground and venting out the top. And the incinerators flaring violently. These are the incidents that the community has reported to TCEQ. Okay. So when you start looking at the issues and the citations are very, very small. TCEQ issued citations in Wise County on events of February 3rd, 27, and 28, 2010. The location was the Wright lease, 7H and 8H. And the citations and violations were for venting from several locations, venting causing noises, odors, and emitting large amounts of exhaust. The other 256 complaints from January through the end of July did not result in citations or violations. Such a small number of citations and violations when compared to the more than 250 complaints through the end of July, odor complaints and health impacts are unacceptable and indicate that there is a need to evaluate the regulatory process, a desperate need to evaluate the regulatory process, because the health of the community is not being protected. The health impacts to the community are being documented. The TCEQ program has documented extensive impacts to public health as a result of emissions, venting, spills, leaks. There appears to be a need for additional requirements to 1, control emissions, 2, decrease in the release of toxic chemicals that result in human health impacts, and a reduction in the human health impacts as a result of operations on the Barnett Shale. Evaluating the data indicates that as a result of TCEQ's program implementation in late 2009, there continues to be a large number of complaints, an increasing number of complaints being filed, and an increase in time, not a decrease in time. So it's showing that more and more complaints are being filed. Okay. So let's look at some of the locations. I picked 2 locations from Tarrant and 2 locations from the Dish area in Denton County. So we look at Dish as we sit here tonight, and we have a facility that's known as Recon Dish Compressor Station, and it had multiple complaints, not just one complaint, but multiple complaints in the months of January, March, April, June, August, and September. That's 6 of the months out of the 9.5 months of the program. So As Calvin has said, it's better, but it's still not good. And this shows that there are still complaints, multiple complaints per month on just this one that I looked at, just this one compressor station. The next one is the Denton County Razor Ranch. And we have people here tonight associated with that, living in that environment. Multiple complaints in February, April, May, June, July, and August. 6 out of the 9.5 months, multiple complaints for the Razor Ranch facility. Then we moved to Tarrant County in the UTA compressor facility. Multiple complaints January, February, March, April, June, July, August, and October. 8 out of 9.5 months with multiple complaints. And finally, we look at the Fort Worth Saltwater Disposal Number 1 facility, February, March, April, May, and July. 5 of the 9.5 months with multiple complaints during that time. A mechanism is desperately needed to be devised to reduce and address the human health impacts associated with the operations of the Barnett Shale gas. And Sharon will now give you some ideas of what we would like to request from the state agencies as well as EPA. Sharon?
Okay, here are some needs that we have identified from our analysis, but we want to hear from you so that we can add to this if we need to. The TCEQ obviously needs to dramatically reduce the impacts on human health from natural gas extraction. First and foremost, require the best control technology available as described in Drill Right, Texas. TCEQ's response cannot be based solely on odors. Some people experience health impacts and they never smell anything. So if you call the TCEQ and you say, my eyes are burning, my throat is burning, I'm coughing, and I think it's from the gas well next door, they will say, do you smell anything? And if you say no, they don't come out. Everybody has a different sense of smell. The TVA and the Ray monitoring instruments are inappropriate for ambient air measurements, as demonstrated in the BP oil spill. TCEQ's 5 parts per million VOC must test benchmark is set way too high. TCEQ needs night inspectors because the odor events happen most often at night and the emissions have dissipated by the next morning when the inspectors arrive. And again, if we require control technology to prevent these emissions, then the other bullet points won't be really necessary. So now it's your turn, and if you would like to speak and didn't sign up, I would encourage you to help the TCEQ assess this program. Let's help us make it better. So if you'd like to sign up to speak, there's still time. I'm going to get my phone for a timer, but I don't think we're really pressed for time.
We're going to ask you to come up here.
Yes.
If you wouldn't mind coming up to the podium when you're called to talk and talk from the podium so that everybody can hear you. Did everybody get signed in that would like to?
There's still some blanks in there.
Okay. We're going to start with 5 minutes per person to talk, ask questions.
We have a timer.
You want me to just say the first name for you so that people can sign in?
Oh, sure, yeah.
We've
Yeah,
got some.
the first name on the list is
That's-
Faith
that's-
Chattel. I said not.
She didn't
Oh,
want
I'm
to be
sorry,
first.
Melanie Lamb.
Somebody has to be first.
I don't want to be first. I don't even like to participate.
If you'll state your name and where you live.
Okay, I'm Melanie Lamb. I live in Flower Mound.
Louder.
I just,
Why don't you move the podium, the
Yeah.
thing that one is up to the
yeah, there you go. You know, I know this is all about the process tonight, but one thing that I've kind of found through the months that I've been researching this, and I've heard the complaints and everything, and I do have to ask you, is the state agencies really taking this seriously? I mean, there are people out there with so many health concerns, and this is being so well documented now. Is this being taken seriously? Do you believe that it's just in their heads that there are these illnesses? I mean, how can you respond to all the issues that these people have had and how their lives are being impacted? With their health first, their property second. I mean, the list just goes on, and there doesn't ever seem to be any resolution. It seems like it just kind of always dead ends, whether it be TCEQ, whether it be the Railroad Commission. And it, you know, I've never gone through the EPA channels, but are the agencies working together to try to get a resolution for these people that are suffering?
I think the answer to the question is yes. I mean, we're taking this very seriously. We talk about the investigation process, and I do appreciate this group's efforts to assist in that. Our process is to go out to determine compliance. I think that there have been some issues that even from the beginning, we talked about the fact that one of our first charges to go out and measure these and vote against the compliance statuses that we have today. At the same time, we're looking at those same rules and regulations and see if they're protected enough. So that if that standard is not high enough, they would measure against that new standard, whatever it is. But one of the concerns is that we do hear a lot about the health effects. And I tell you, it's not an effort to disbelieve, but it's an effort that we have the challenge to prove that. I mean, when we go out and look at these complaints, folks make allegations, my staff believe that going out and do it. That somebody has something that is, they believe to be causing them concern. Our charge, our responsibility is to be able to go out there, identify that source, determine that what's coming off of that source is going to that property, and that it's at a concentration and a duration enough to impact their health, or to cause them not to be able to use and enjoy that property. And we have to prove that. So the first thing we're doing is making sure that if we know a source and we believe we have a source, that we're going to make sure that that source is in fact the source. And that we're using our tools to measure the pollutants that are coming out of that source and one, the finger point. This is what's coming off. When we talk to our toxicologists, we use a sample data to determine what is the expected effect of these pollutants that are coming off of this facility. And the measurements that we're getting at this concentration, what health effects do you expect? What loss of enjoyment of the property do you expect to have at that level? That's one way we're doing it. The other way is, I mean, I heard a lot of folks talk about, we have effects. We have nosebleeds, we have vomiting. And if it's a situation where we're having those things at a level that doesn't generally produce those effects, we want the medical records, we want the doctor's statements to help us support this violation. So all I can say is we are taking it seriously. We are going out doing those investigations. We're trying to gather those facts so we can prove those cases up. If in fact we can't prove it, we have three things. We're trying to substantiate that violation. We're trying to gather data to find out if that violation was unfounded. Or the third, and this is probably the bigger category, that we have data that shows that there is probably a problem, but we can't substantiate it. And that's where we got those continuations of going back out to sources, where we're looking at them again. Today is about answering your question, but I would say that my numbers are a little bit different from yours, and I think part of the issue is that we have several things that we do. We do what we call a recon. A recon investigation is where we've been out to the site, a complaint has been lodged at that site or in that location. We couldn't confirm it. So we set a recon route about that. This is not new complaints. This is staff just saying, dish, for instance, I know she listed dish recon. That's not about new complaints being called. That's about saying, there's been enough calls about this. We're going to set a recon route, and we're going to go out there once a week, twice a week,